Do not weep, for she is not dead, but sleeping. Jesus said in Luke chapter 8, verse 52, when he came into the house of the ruler of the synagogue. It wasn't uncommon, it was not uncommon at all for Jesus' words to be misinterpreted by his audience. How many times in the Bible, in the Gospel, we hear the evangelist saying people did not understand what he meant, and the evangelist would explain what Jesus meant. And this is one of the situations where people did not understand what he said. Do not weep. That was the first message. She's not dead. That was the second message. But sleeping is the third message. Now let's just go back and put ourselves at the place and the time where Jesus said these words at the house of the ruler of the synagogue. Jesus' fame had spread all over. People were flocking from all over to see Jesus, either out of curiosity or to be healed. As an example, on his way to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, the crowds were pressing against him, and the woman with the issue of the blood came to be healed from him. So the people there knew about the fame of Jesus, and they knew about the powers that he was doing, and they knew about all the miracles that he had performed, and they knew that people were coming from all over to be touched by him and to be healed by him. Yet the evangelist tells us they laughed at him. They laughed at him. So this particular group was inattentive. They were not attentive, or they were not attentive enough to comprehend the words that Jesus spoke. And you know, when is the time we have our biggest losses? When we are not attentive. That's when accident happens, and that's when big things go wrong. Now, each person in this group was distracted by a different reason, by a different motivation. Some of them were concerned about the financial gain that they were going to get upon the death of this little girl. They would economically benefit from her death. So if she's not dead, they lose that economic gain. Certain people dislike the Lord. They dislike his teaching. They dislike everything he represented. Others, simply the impurity of their hearts blinded their eyes, it blinded their judgment. For some reason, the presence of Jesus Christ, his perfect holiness, bothers some people. Now, this is not the first time that Jesus was subject to be mocked. He faced these kind of challenges throughout his earthly mission. His opponents all the time treated him with discontempt up to the point of his death. Even after his death, he suffered mocking when he was in agony upon the cross, and after he died, he was called a crook. In the face of the unkindness, in the face of the harshness of people, Jesus always showed the highest level of kindness, the the highest level of kindness. He faced people's rudeness with compassion and with love. The same rejection of Jesus' teaching on the day this miracle happened with the raising of Jairus' daughter, the same rejection of his teaching continues to happen throughout the history of Christianity, and even the Christian doctrine about death, about life after death, is rejected. Even today, it is doubted. Even when all these miracles Jesus did, like raising the daughter of Jairus, raising the son of Nain, raising Lazarus, and ultimately himself conquering his own death. The dominant philosophies of today, they reject the existence of the soul, reject the existence of the spirit. They consider man nothing but biological entity on the basis that his soul is intangible. The intelligent awareness of man, meaning his ability to think, his ability to remember, his ability to invent, his ability to feel, to react. This is, in medical terms today, is considered something biological. The result of biological function. Most scientists, not all of them, most scientists do not accept that man can exist or can experience anything after his brain has stopped functioning. They don't accept that. They define death as when the brain stops. And based upon that, they say man cannot feel anything, or man cannot experience anything once that happens. Most scientists reject life after death, and they dismiss any near-death experience as a real experience. They interpret near-death experience as some form of fantasy or some form of hallucination because of the oxygen level and the medication and all that stuff. Now, there is a doctor, his name Alexander Eben. For example, he is highly trained neurosurgeon. He performed, I don't know the number, it's a large number of brain surgeries. As a neurosurgeon, as a doctor, he could not reconcile in his mind believing in heaven, believing in God, or the existence of the soul as a neurosurgeon. He could not reconcile these two parts until he himself went through a very well documented, from a medical perspective, near-death experience where his brain, the cortex of his brain, stopped functioning. I don't remember the name of the days, but it was beyond 3-4 days, or around that number. So, after such a powerful personal experience, he declared, the same doctor, that death is not the end of our existence. He, through his experience, declared that death is a transition. I'm going to read to you what he wrote. My experience showed me that the death of the body and the brain are not the end of consciousness that human experience. It's not the end of consciousness, that human experience continues beyond the grave. More important, it continues under the gaze of God. And this is coming from the lips of someone who did not believe that. Under the gaze of God, who loves and cares about each one of us and about where the universe itself and all the being within it are ultimately going. So the current dominant thoughts, our philosophy today, reduces the human being to something less than what it is. Our philosophies reject any attempt to declare that the material, tangible realm is not that all exists. The things that we see are not the only thing that exist. This reductive approach, when man is convinced that he is only some type of biological entity and nothing more, makes man feel inadequate, makes man feel that he is missing something. It separates man from pursuing the essential purpose of his existence. It makes him lose his compass, his direction, and the purpose of why he is here. This philosophy is a dangerous philosophy. It deprives man from connecting and enjoying the free gift of divine love. How can you pursue something to enjoy that you are told doesn't exist? Jesus revealed the truth about life. Jesus revealed the existence of the soul and the life after we are gone from this life. So, going through a near-death experience, the one that I shared with you about Dr. Alexander Eben, is not necessary or needed to believe in the existence of the soul and the life after. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed, said Jesus to Thomas in John chapter 20, verse 29. Jesus has done enough. He has done more than enough to reveal that God is real and He exists, and that is not an abstract or something just intellectual understanding. So, this understanding about the existence of the soul, the life after, is very important for us to live a fulfilled and healthy life. The understanding about death, according to the teaching of the Holy Bible, is an essential step to have a wholesome awareness and wholesome life. The teaching of the Bible does not call the separation of the soul from the body death. It doesn't use the term death to describe that. Death in the Holy Bible refers to the separation of the soul from God. And in the Bible, there are two deaths. The first one that happened when Adam and Eve violated God's commandments and separated themselves from Him and rejected Him. That was the first death. And that was the death that the entire humankind suffered because of them. Now, the second death is for those who are going to reject repentance, those that are going to insist to live as a servant of sin. At the day of the final judgment, those who reject God. God does not reject anyone. But those who reject God will embrace the second death. Now, the separation from of the soul from the body that we refer to as deceased in the Bible is called falling asleep. So this is why Jesus told this group of people, she's not dead, she's asleep. That's what He meant. When a person falls asleep, the body returns to the earth. When we are deceased, the body returns to the earth. The soul returns to the heavenly, to the spiritual realm where it came from. And it will be placed on the level according to its virtuous life or wicked life. The souls of the deceased, the souls of those that are asleep, are fully conscious. Their memories are at their highest capacity and their senses are extremely acute. So, those who desire to avoid the second death, they need to establish a personal bond with Jesus Christ. Those who desire to experience the resurrection after their being deceased, they need that bond of Jesus Christ, the God and the Creator of the universe. Jesus is the only true God. Jesus is the only true God. All the other gods are false gods. They have no power whatsoever over the soul, and they have no life, and they can give no life. And all those gods are nothing but a fallacy. Jesus is the only true God. He is the one that holds in His hands the fate of the soul, because of the fact that He is their Creator. And as the Creator, He has the deed of the property of those souls. They belong to Him. So, life never dies, and death can never live. Jesus is the life, and He doesn't die. And those separated from Him, they're dead, and they can never live. Thank you very much.